Holy Mother Church has been under assault for decades, especially in North America, but also in Europe and much of the world, by liberalism, lack of catechesis, irreverence, even blatant heresy on the part of the clergy. Archbishop Fulton J. Sheen said it would be the laity that would save the church. Now is the time for good men to come forward and to restore her to her rightful glory. Hi everyone, I'm Raylan Alamo and you're watching Citadel Catholic Media. Much of Pope John Paul II's papacy was marked by his call for a new evangelization. Part of this newness is the involvement of the laity in it. Quite often we'll think that the spreading of the faith is just the responsibility of the clergy and the religious, but we also have a part in it. In John Paul II's apostolic letter at the beginning of the third millennium, released at the close of the Great Jubilee year 2000, addressed to the clergy and religious as well as all lay people, he says, "We must revive in ourselves that burning conviction of Paul when he cried out, 'Woe to me if I do not proclaim the gospel.'" He goes on, "This passion will not fail to stir in the church a new sense of mission, which cannot be limited to a select group of specialists, but must involve all members of the people of God. Christ must be presented to all people with confidence. We will address adults, families, young people, children, without ever hiding the most radical demands of the gospel message." As I thought about these words, in this very series, which is rooted in the gospel and the magisterium, I have had to point to its most radical demands to all people with confidence. This is just one example of the things that laymen, husbands and fathers are called to do for Holy Mother Church, the bride of Christ. Often today we'll see liturgical abuses, hear errors in church teaching, sometimes even heresies from the clergy. Who is standing up to this? I'll tell you who. Most of the time when I see it, it's the ladies. Why? Because most men are either ignorant, they're not paying attention, or they just are really not concerned. Men, are we good protectors of the church for our family, or are we just trying to get along? Men, Pope John Paul II is calling on us to confront these problems and to restore the church, as Bishop Sheen prophesied. This is masculine, tough love. We have to be tough. We have to be strong. When women take on this role, they become confrontational and aggressive. Then what kind of a wife and mother are they for their family after having been confrontational and argumentative? When a woman does this, it makes her hard and tough when she should be gentle and nurturing for her children. I've often wondered about this when I'll see women who will be even stay-at-home mothers will get into the social media on Facebook and be confronting and arguing with others about the faith because they're being aggressive. You're supposed to be a mom, mother and children, and you're playing on the internet arguing with men or with women. I definitely couldn't see our Blessed Mother doing something like this. Men by nature are external. This is why we won't necessarily be reflective or contemplative, but we will pray and pray consistently. Just think of the Crusaders or the Knights of ages past. They had a spirituality which was structured and disciplined, but it wasn't necessarily one that was interior, which tends much toward the feminine. We have to have a practical working knowledge of the faith. It's not necessary for us to be theologians, to be warriors in defense of the church. One example of this is that we had a local priest who had a column in a secular newspaper. He wrote an article a few months back titled, "Isn't it time that we consider married men and women for ordination to the priesthood?" As a knowledgeable Catholic, I realized that there were two levels of error in this article. One was that he was recommending the ordination of married men, which is a dissenting opinion from the Pope, who in only rarely circumstances will allow for this, but it's a discipline that he could change at any point. The other was a much more grievous error. The ordination of women will never be allowed. This is a doctrine of the faith, and to counter it can border on or actually be heresy. So I clipped the article and sent it to the bishop, expressing my concern that he'd be leading the faithful astray. I received a letter back from the bishop, and then later saw that the priest issued an article with a retraction of his statement and stated the correct teaching of the church. Another example. Earlier this year, the bishops of this country issued a revised version of the Scriptures. The old version of the Bible, in the book of the prophet Isaiah, referred to our Blessed Mother, saying, "The virgin shall be with child, and bear a son, and shall call him Emmanuel." The new version of the Bible, instead of saying virgin, calls her the young woman instead. It elaborates that the Hebrew word Alma may or may not signify a virgin. Now, why on earth would anyone leave to question the doctrine of the virginity of the Mother of God? So, out of concern, I wrote letters to several of the prefects at the Vatican. I was privileged to receive this handwritten note from Cardinal Arenze, the prefect for the Congregation of Divine Worship, saying that he will have this letter sent to the proper office which looks into such important matters. These are just a couple of examples, and men across the country and around the world are doing similar things. We just need to know the faith, and it's never been as easy as it is today to learn it. With the educational outreaches out there in the media, especially on the internet like Real Catholic TV, Catholic Answers, EWTN, and St. Joseph Communications, we can learn the faith. And just as easy as we can email jokes to our friends, we can email links to our brothers in Christ and learn for ourselves. We just have to care enough and be obedient, confirmed Catholics, the church militant. This is the conclusion of our series, Husbands, Love Your Wives. Throughout this series, we've talked about the important things that we as husbands are responsible for doing for our families. One of the most important things is to recognize the effects that feminism has on our wives, being able to recognize it, root it out, and eliminate it, so that they can be the feminine wives and mothers that we need for our families. Stay tuned for future programming here at Citadel Catholic Media. Come back and see us. God bless you.